get this camera working.
You got.
Hey guys, before we jump into 28 years later, the Bone Temple, I gotta let you know Sundance is coming up quick. This week, our team will be venturing out to Park City for this final edition of the festival in Utah to cover the latest slate of movies. And supporting our work over there is super easy. Just follow and engage with us on Instagram and social media, subscribe on our website, and most importantly, share our content with your friends. Right now, you can enter to win tickets to in-person and online movies, so you don't even have to go to Sundance to watch a Sundance movie. I've already started publishing interviews with filmmakers who will be at the festival, so you can go and check those out with more to come. And I am working on a short film project documenting our work over at the festival, and I'd love for you to learn more about it. Special thanks to Alpine Distilling for helping make our work over there possible, and to Fit Like Table Reads for being a great partner during Sundance and year-round. You can find everything over at thisisforreal.com or on our Instagram page. So, thanks for listening. Enjoy this episode of This Week on For Real, and we'll see you in Park City.
All right. Hey, guys. Welcome to This Week on For Real. Special happy birthday to our co-writer, Sean Pierre. We love you, Sean. Let's just get this started. So I'm joined by my buddy, Jakey. Say hi, Jakey.
How we doing, guys?
I'm joined by Marty.
Heyo.
I'm joined by Ethan.
Hi there.
And I'm joined by Zach.
How you doing?
So let's just jump right into this. So 28 years later, The Bone Temple, directed by Nia DaCosta. Jakey, I had you on because you're my resident 28 head. So I just want to ask you, what's your personal relationship to the 28 series?
It's kind of funny because I didn't get into it until very recently, like probably around about 12, 13 months ago. Like I kind of, when the trailer came out for 28 years, I was like, all right, it's like rite of passage time. Like I'm a British cinephile. I should care about this stuff. Let me get onto it. I watched 28 Days Later, and it like rocked me in ways that I wasn't expecting it to. Kind of like that weird blend of like sentimentality, but also like the grittiness of like obviously how it looks and a lot of the presentation of it. And yeah, and then when years came out and just like blew me away again. And I think that for me anyways, the reason why I like it so much is because of how hyper specific it is to British culture in a time where like that doesn't happen on a stage like this. It's not really a thing that happens in major franchises. Like it is majority like American led. So I think that for me anyways, that's part of the appeal of it. It's got like that distinction that draws me into it. So then when this was coming out, I was like trying to get those secret screenings. Did not get access to those secret screenings, but then saw it like as early as I possibly could. Did the double bill and everything, and yeah, it's a film that's occupied a lot of my headspace for the last like year.
I mean, you seem quite jazzed about it, so I'm looking forward to getting into it. Marty, what about you? What do you feel about the 28 series?
I'm not a big zombie person, so I didn't get into 28 years until maybe about a week before 28 years later came out. I watched 28 days, then 28 months, and then I've watched the last two the weeks that they come out. And yeah, I'm into it now. Like, I really liked the first film, and I really like the latest film. The months and years, a little bit in the middle, but Bone Temple, like, rocked me. Like, Nia DaCosta ate that shit, and very excited to talk.
I mean, I love Nia DaCosta. We love her.
Mm-hmm.
Ethan, what about you? How do you feel about 28?
Excuse me. I really enjoy these movies. I think all of them, including this one, have their merits. I think 28 Weeks is a little rough here and there, and how it's like, hey, military guys are cool too. It's like we should have some sympathy. And then it kind of makes you think that it's starting to get a little disconnected with being a franchise or whatever. But then because Danny and Garland are back, it's like, hey, we have like a full cohesive thing, and this is a real Oh, nice dog in the back there.
Simon.
And yeah, I saw the first two in like the same week as 28 years later, seeing all those for the first time. I thought it was a great experience, and I really enjoy Bone Temple. Um, I kind of feel myself wanting to get back to into this film more after seeing Bone Temple than getting back into just 28 years after seeing that one.
All right, and Zach, what about you? How do you feel?
My relationship to the 28, uh, just years, days, whatever franchise or whatever name you want to call it, it honestly dates back to The Last of Us. And I'm sure that's a game that will come up again in this conversation. But I played The Last of Us first, and then I saw that the 28 Days was a very big influence on Druckmann's writing with The Last of Us. And so I checked that out when The Last of Us 2 came out. I think that was during COVID. And then obviously they released Years last summer, and I absolutely loved that. One of my favorite films of last year. And I was very excited going into the Bone Temple, and it didn't disappoint. This movie rocks, and I can't wait to talk about it with you guys.
Hell yeah. I mean, so for me personally, I had a weird relationship with the 28 movies because I feel like I just didn't pay attention to the 28 Days Later when I saw it. I mean, that's usually what happens when you watch a movie on Discord with like 19 other people in the dead of night. But so I rewatched it again, maybe like what's like December 2024, and I was like, oh, so this is the movie everybody's talking about, and I really loved it. I really liked John Murphy's kind of post-rock score. I really love Naomi Harris in that movie so much, and Brendan Gleeson's such a warm presence until he goes zombie mode. And Christopher Eccleston's such a delightful little scumbag. I really like these movies. I thought Years was phenomenal. I mean, towards the end of Years, during one of the more emotional scenes, I was like, wow, this is really good. And I turned to my right, and my girlfriend is like open mouth sobbing. So that just speaks to how fantastic these movies are. But I wanted to kind of pivot to Marty because you are also a resident Nia DaCosta head. You saw Head at TIFF, right?
I did.
So do you want to talk about Nia a bit?
Yeah, sure. I've seen all of her work. I love her. Like, I really, really adore the way that she shoots film. I used to be a big Marvel head, kind of fell off. I got back into at least the Marvels because she was directing. And there's a way that she's able to create a space on set that just feels a little bit more contained and exploratory, which I just find so interesting. Like, if we compare, like, when we first meet the Jimmys at the end of 28 years, and it's very Power Rangers Ninja, they're going crazy, and we're getting this kind of explosive look at them. And then we're introduced to them again, and it's a little bit more playful, but like in a darker sense at the beginning of Bone Temple. Like, you see them going from just these kind of chaotic jokesters to, I would call them, I don't know, like these demonic kind of henchmen almost. Like, you can tell that they're just following a lead, and they're goofy and they're silly, but it's really this darker form. And I feel like she was able to do a lot of grounding for this film. All of the films she's done, what she did with Candyman, Hedda here, we get a lot more personal with these relationships. And I felt like even the relationship that we get between Samson and Dr. Ian, like, was a lot stronger than some of the relationships we saw in the first film. I could watch the way that she creates these dynamics between just two people forever, because you feel so personal with these people. She makes you just feel like you were in the room with them.
Yeah, I mean, as a resident Chicagoan, I loved her take on Candyman. Actually, I saw a little connective tissue in the way that she kind of shot the Bone Temple in the same way that she shot the Chicago skyline in the opening credits of Candyman. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of hers. I don't know. Does anybody else have any thoughts on Nia DaCosta before going into the Bone Temple?
I mean, for me, anyways, like the 2021 Candyman was like.
I'm with you on
got me
Candyman.
into theatrical horror. Like it got because I for a longest
really
time wasn't watching horror. Wasn't watching horror, and that got me back into it. Like in a theater setting, I love the way it's directed. I couldn't get enough of it. The opening sequence, like how it relates to the original whilst also being its own thing. I really like that film. I think it's fantastic. And then watching Hedda this year, kind of in the build up to the Bone Temple, I was like, yeah, no, I've got full faith in her. And then I think my faith was rewarded quite well in the Bone Temple.
So I do actually want to jump into that kind of preemptive faith, just because how bizarre the ending of 28 Years Later was. What was everybody's kind of expectations going into the Bone Temple, especially, with kind of like the cryptic trailers going in? I don't know. Ethan, you want to start off?
Wrong choice, because I didn't watch any of the trailers.
I
purposefully avoided them after choosing not to look at any trailers for the first movie. Mm-hmm. And that was really rewarding because that whole sequence with the old poem and old sourced footage was kind of like an insane move, having not seen the trailer, so that wasn't something playing in my head over and over again watching it. And so my only my only point of reference for the marketing of the Bone Temple was what might have been, in my perception, Dr. Ian with like white paint on him, and I was like, okay, I don't know what this is gonna be. I expect something to go along with the Jimmys, and that to be the focus of this story. And while I didn't expect it to, I think I did expect it to be a bit more of a grander narrative, similar to the first 28 years. But we got something a lot more smaller and focused that leads into the third 28 years, and I'm really glad that's what they did. And sorry for just kind of being the wrong person to ask that question.
No, that's fine. I think what your point kind of speaks to what Marty was saying about Nia DaCosta's ability to kind of create like these contained atmospheres. I don't know. I mean, after the ending of 28 Years Later, I don't know, Marty, what were you thinking?
I had a lot of fear going in. One, you've got January release for a horror, kind of scary. And then I was not really a fan of 28 Years. I liked the last 20 to 30 minutes, kind of when they first meet Dr. Ian, and like after they leave that train and they enter the Bone Temple. I thought that's like where the real story really started, in my opinion. And so for the fact that it picked up not too far off where we left it, I thought was perfect. That was kind of my biggest fear, is that we're going to just jump too far forward, and I'm going to feel like there's all this kind of like left on the cutting room floor feeling. But I really went in with kind of tempered expectations, because I always trust Nia to do well. But there was just a few things where I was like, maybe it won't, maybe it will exceed my expectations, So I'm really happy with where the film turned out, and I'm happy I didn't go in with too high of expectations, but also not too low either.
Yeah, and Jakey, I wanted to ask you your thoughts on the ending of 28 Years Later, as well as your anticipation for Bone Temple. But can you also kind of touch on the cultural implications of the Jimmys at the ending of the movie?
Yeah, because it's the thing, right? It was really funny for me, obviously, watching it and seeing the reaction to it, both from people that I knew, like, in person who watched it, who got it instantly and knew instantly what it was touching upon, and then seeing the online reaction where people were like, what was this? Like, why was he dressed like that? Those kind of things. I mean, for the way that Boyle captures it, it's so like it's horrific in the sense that like obviously we get what's going on with it. But then it's like darkly comedic as well because you have that element of, oh yeah, these guys wouldn't have known. And so like you get this element with the characters then with the Jimmys at the end of 28 years where there is a bit of playfulness to them. And yeah, like it does get subverted within the Bone Temple. It does kind of gets, I mean, it's basically instantly, it's like the opening scene of the film. You get more of an insight into how twisted they are as individuals, which then for me kind of then reflects what Boyle was laying down, but in a maybe more obtuse sense at the end of 28 years later, going into the Bone Temple.
Zach, how do you feel about the ending of 28 Years Later and kind of going into the Bone Temple?
So I was a fan of the ending of 28 Years Later, and I know that it was a very big like point of contention when the movie came out of like I really loved this movie up until the last 5 minutes and it completely derailed it for me. I heard a lot of people say that, and I just don't. It's a great litmus test of how cool you are if you can hang with those 5 minutes for me. I really and it I obviously knew like you mentioned that you really enjoyed Candyman earlier, and I revisited that before watching this, and I see a lot of the stuff that DaCosta did with Candyman here, and like that's how like with watching that movie again, I knew that this one would be a bit more subdued as opposed to the like kind of manic energy of the first film. And I really, yeah, I was really interested to see what she would do with the story. And obviously I've always said that Nia DaCosta is a writer that with a great script, she's like an incredible filmmaker. And the fact that she's got Alex Garland behind her with the writing, it's just makes it even better.
Yeah, I mean, well, I was a little nervous going into Bone Temple just because, the trailers for 28 Years Later were very subversive, and you didn't really you kind of expected it to be a more traditional zombie movie, with like the Boots poem and stuff like that, and it ended up being a lot more sentimental than it ended up being. So I was kind of, I don't know, I didn't really know what to expect from Bone Temple, especially with like the stuff with the fire ritual that they put in the trailers. I didn't know what the hell was going to go. I feel like that was a really big talking point in the lead up, like what the hell is Ray Fiennes doing in the Bone Temple. I was one of the uncultured Americans who didn't understand the implications of the Jimmys at the end of years and kind of its relation to Jimmy Savile, or is it Savile or Savile?
It's Savile, yeah. It's
Savile. And,
there was a dude dressed up as Jimmy Savile, or like one of the Jimmys at the screening me and Ethan went to. We missed him for some reason, but like I saw it's that like photo that's going around on Reddit. That was the
He
screening.
had a meltdown on Reddit.
Yeah,
Oh,
see that, but...
oh, that's great. You gotta show us that.
Well, hopefully he felt kind of dismayed once he saw the movie. Because,
I would hope so.
Well, now let's actually jump into it. So, I really, really loved the Bone Temple. I've seen it twice now, and it honestly
Double
benefits from the rewatch. I've been double boned. It's a fantastic movie. Nia DaCosta just directs the hell out of it. I think I just kind of locked in immediately, like genuinely immediately. Like once the opening shot of like no children past this point, I could already tell we were kind of going further into Spike's arc, as his coming of age story. But I'm actually just tripping over myself. That's how excited I am. Once we get to the pool fight, I was literally vibrating in my seat for a good 10 minutes, and I was getting nervous because I didn't want to piss off the people next to me because I was getting so excited about this damn movie. I can literally just live in this universe for ages. Not in real life. I don't want to be there in real life. Through the screen, that's fine.
I mean, I'm doing it.
We're getting closer by the day. Just don't go to Lindisfarne. But oh man, it's just, and I really want to pay my respects to Sean Bobbitt, who's one of the most underrated cinematographers in the game. I just recently got the movie he shot, Place Beyond the Pines, on 4K, which is a fantastic movie. Yeah, I couldn't be more excited about the Bone Temple. Marty, I'm going to pass it on to you.
Going off of the cinematography, yeah, I knew from that split diopter shot, like within the first 5 minutes, I was like, I'm gonna like this so much more than the first one, because the first one, yeah, you shot it on 20 iPhones, we can tell. I was not a fan of that, especially the weird KG, like during the action
Like the
sequence.
bullet time.
Yeah, and then the zooming, I don't know, just the visual texture of the first one, not my cup of tea. This one I thought was so beautiful. He's shot the last like 3 films that DaCosta's done, and they just seem to have such synergy together. Like I just, oh, it was so beautiful. I was like tearing up at a couple moments because we're just like watching, and it's just so beautiful. And I really, the first one, I was expecting, like you were saying, like more of a straightforward zombie movie, and it wasn't. So this one, it's like, okay, yeah, this one is going to be a little bit more of emotional kick. And if you think about it, there were really much zombies at all. Like there were a little bit more in the first one, but like this one, if you think about it, like there's maybe like less than 5 scenes with zombies in it, and I was fine with that. Like I really, other than Samson, but like just the story between Samson and Dr. Ian, like really, it really had me. And I thought like the progression of Spike's storyline was just, it was so good because he's still this nervous little kid, but he's finding himself and he's finding his footing and his power, and he's linking up with what is it, Jimmy Inc.
That's
And
the one.
yeah, their dynamic is great. I definitely could kind of see a little bit of Killian and Naomi, like with their relationship. I liked how that was kind of reflective of the first movie. Like you said, I don't like zombies. I don't want to live in this universe for real, but keep making 28 years later. Let's let Nia keep directing them, and yeah, I'll keep going to see them.
We'll see. Ethan, how'd you feel about Bone Temple?
I was prepared to be boned, and I got boned. I loved every like second of this, and yeah, again, another silly American who doesn't know what Jimmy Savile is, or Jimmy Savile. What is it again?
Savile.
It's Jimmy Savile.
Jimmy Savile. All right, I wasn't right. Either.
Your time to
I think
charm.
he's like some sort of like pedophile cult man or something.
Jake, you want to take care of this one?
So, I mean, we've got to get into it at some point. So Savile was like a children's entertainer. He was, he would host like game shows. He had a show called Jim Will Fix It, where essentially a child would come on and he'd, like they'd have a problem and he would fix it. That would be his thing. And you know, that element of philanthropy definitely doesn't come up in this film at all. That's definitely not what they're referring to when they use the word charity. It's the way that like they deal with it in this, for me anyways, like is so fascinating because I mean, Savile was a monster behind the scenes, but you know, hid beneath this veneer of charity and philanthropy and you know this moral kind of like shield essentially, and to like use children for it, which we see with Jimmy in this. It's like I saw some people just like saying they didn't understand still why they modeled Jimmy Crystal after Savile, which I'm a little bit confounded by because I think that you get it kind of, for me anyways, I don't know, maybe it is a cultural thing. You do kind of get it quite quickly.
And just jumping to you, Zach, back to you, Zach. What was your first reaction to the Bone Temple?
So I have, as well as you have been, I've been double boned. I saw it again yesterday, and I just want to say, like, this is a really special sequel. Like, it's on the level to me as like an Empire Strikes Back, like Dune Part 2 type thing of taking the form of the original film and just kind of elevating it and making something different while maintaining that, like Marty said, there's not many zombies in this zombie movie. It's about the humanity and the evil of the apocalypse, and I just really am I really dug the themes that Garland and DaCosta were able to get at here, and it's not really stuff that you get to see in modern movies, especially right now in the world that we're living in. A lot of the they literally stop this movie for 10 minutes so that Ray Fiennes and Jack O'Connell can do like essentially theater together for like 10 minutes. And so obviously we'll get into spoilers later, but there is this movie, yeah, every single minute I was locked in and I really enjoyed it.
I mean, me too. And just Jakey, first reactions?
So coming into this as someone whose favorite film of 2025 was 28 Years Later, my expectations were high, very high, and DaCosta just smashed them, like completely smashed them. It was such great energy, like the entire time I was watching. Obviously, awful energy, but like great energy in the sense that it felt like everything DaCosta was putting down was resonating. Because one of my major concerns with this was with the way 28 days and 28 weeks and 28 weeks kind of lost a lot of what I thought was really great about Boyle's kind of innovative digital like approach to the apocalypse. I was worried that this might lose that. But it doesn't at all. It's a completely different spin on it. I mean, Bobby, like the way that it's shot is more like earthy, a bit more grounded, which I think works really well, like for Spike's character. He's going through this kind of darker period in his life. And yeah, I mean, for me, like it just kind of sustained a lot of what I enjoyed about that, because the opening scene is it's equal parts horrific and somewhat funny in a morbid sense.
It's a bit slapstick.
Yeah, exactly. And it keeps that energy, that tonal shifting energy that Boyle was so great at, for me anyways. And that for me is like the key to this franchise. It's why I love 28 Days, 28 Years, and now the Bone Temple.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially with Bone Temple, there's a ridiculous balancing act going on where there's so many factors to this movie that could just straight up not work. Like I want to jump into the music and the needle drops kind of as a separate talking point, but like just to use this as an example, like if you just on paper, a zombie dancing to Duran Duran sounds stupid. It is kind of stupid. But it works. And I think that's not only the magic of Garland's script, but DaCosta's handling of it. But I do want to jump into the music, not only the needle drops, but also Hildur Guðnadóttir's score. I was a little worried as to how she would follow up Young Fathers, just because Young Fathers kind of like trip hop experimental score was just, I don't know, it was one of my most listened albums on Spotify last year. I really just dug like the distorted sound that they had. But I think Hildur Guðnadóttir really stepped to plate. She's really good with like these like low frequency like violins like or string sounds, and I even like she kind of gets wild. Like there's a bit in the movie. This is getting very specific. There's a bit in the movie where Kelson is hammering like I think it's a pelvic bone into his bone temple, and there's these like it's like a spiraling like wood. It's like. And I was like, oh, okay, this is 28. We're here. I can just settle in. But I do want to talk. Well, we can talk about the score and the music. But I'm gonna jump to Marty. What was your favorite needle drop?
I had to say, when they were doing climbing up the walls, I was just like, oh my god, like, or not climbing up the walls. What was it?
Everything in its right place.
Yes, thank you. I was like, literally, I was like, just so blown back. I was like, okay, so when the apocalypse happened, Ian went to all the hospitals, got all the morphine, and then he went to the gay clubs and he saw the like this dude was rocking it. And especially like I thought that was like the most like, I don't know, it gave me chills, but the performance and that like final 30 minutes in the Bone Temple, that music, that dance, that all of that was so sensational to me. Like, oh my God, I like close my eyes and I think about him just dancing around and like literally creating this kind of like these other Jimmys, like they think he really is the devil, you know? So he's like creating this like grand performance, and like you can like just feel it in yourself that you're like, you're there, you're rocking to it. And, oh, it was great.
It honestly, it was very primal, and it kind of, I don't know. I did see the Testament of Ann Lee yesterday, so maybe it's a little. It did remind me of a little bit of Ann Lee, but there's just something about that performance. I saw somebody say that like Fiennes' movement was like serpentine.
That might have been me.
That might have been you. Yeah, I don't know. It's just he's just. I mean, to quote him and also Spinal Tap, he's turning things up to 11. And I want to touch on the Radiohead needle drop too, just because that's another thing where on paper that should not work. We already had that in the Creator. We had that in the Daredevil season 1/4. It should not work, but it does so well. And I think part of that is just because like the beauty shots of the Bone Temple, like that's such a beautiful set. Oh man. What about you, Ethan? What was your favorite needle drop?
Not the Radiohead one, because I was like Daredevil and the Creator, like it's associated to me with just mid. Like I'm like, yeah, like this song, like you can give something aura, but it's not helping. It's like, yeah, cool, this is a cool song, but the Creator is derivative slop. And Daredevil Born Again is like shooting your favorite dog in the face with a load of buckshot. But so I'm just sitting there and I'm like, yeah, I like what they're going for. And Nia DaCosta is definitely not someone who has like seen that shit, I imagine. Maybe the Creator, I don't know. But I really enjoyed the whole demonic ritual sequence. I think that was the musical highlight for me. Like when he pulls out, what was it, Metallica or something?
It's Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden.
Yeah,
Iron Maiden. Yeah, sorry, I don't know things. I can't look at a vinyl cover and know what it is. But yeah, that whole thing where throughout the movie you're like, oh, he's putting on this, we're literally doing needle drops, and then it's like, and now it's gonna be fucking metal shit, and you're like, oh, okay, I think that's what the guy on the poster was all about. And then he puts on like the whole like fire protective suit and it's throwing like molten shit around, and I think people are gonna remember this sequence for quite some time, and it's iconic.
I mean, what did Denzel say when he was doing Gladiator 2? I'm putting these rings and this dress on, I'm going crazy. That might as well speak to Fiennes here. Zach, what about you? What was your favorite needle drop?
I'm going to echo Ethan's, or a lot of other people here as well, and say that it's the Iron Maiden one. That is, there's only like a few times a year where like I can only describe it as like my soul leaves my body during the movie. And that scene, from the second the needle hits the record, and you just like that whole dance that like Ethan said, when he puts the fire protective suit on, like it's incredible stuff. Just genuinely one of my favorite. It's gonna be in my top moments of the year by the end of the year for sure. Like I would not. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that was quite literally a face melter.
Yeah.
Jakey, what about you?
I think for me, obviously the Iron Maiden one's crazy. Like it's nuts. And I had a grin on my face, like I was one of the Jimmys the entire time I was watching it, because I was just like in disbelief. But the one that's kind of stuck me the most is the Ordinary World Duran Duran one. I think mainly because of how it speaks to like Kelson's character. Like lyrically, you look at what that song's talking about, and you look at what Kelson's doing with his treatment of Samson, and his treatment of the infected and the non-infected. It's the one that's kind of like stuck with me emotionally the most out of the, what was it, 4 or 5 needle drops throughout the film.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting tripped over myself again. This movie's so good. I thought that, like, I don't know, there's just, especially kind of in the music that Fiennes plays towards the start of the movie, there's just such a palpable air of loneliness because, like, he is by himself in his little fallout shelter, and he's just, he's sitting butt ass naked on his bed in candlelight, just looking at the photos of what was. I mean, I do want to pivot to Kelson just because, like, oh my God, what a great character. Like, I feel like when Alex Garland was writing the script for years, he realized like how much gold that he stumbled upon with Kelson, and he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep the ball rolling. I don't know. I mean, I'm very bad with like awards picks or whatever. I really thought Fiennes was gonna get like some sort of nod for years. I mean, I don't know if Hugh Grant can get something for Heretic, anything's possible. But I love Dr. Kelson like he's my best friend. I would love to shoot up morphine with Dr. Kelson if possible. There's just, I think what's great about Kelson is the subversion of the character. Because again, with the trailer for years, you saw. I mean, it's kind of the way that the Jimmys have the perception of him as old Nick, as Satan in the movie. Like you see this dude caked in red garbage. It could. I mean, we later find out it's iodine, but come on, if you see a dude in a zombie movie soaked in red, that can only mean one thing. And he has this giant. Oh, he calls it his ossuary, but it's a graveyard. And I mean, everybody and their mom thought he was doing the Mad Doctor bit, but he ended up being like this really mushy, sentimental guy who has, this unbelievable respect for death and the sanctity of it. It's such a great character. It might be one of Fiennes' best roles, like ever, straight up. Zach, how'd you feel about Dr. Kelson and his little arc in the movie?
I will echo your opinion and say this is probably one of my favorite Ralph Fiennes performances. I really, really enjoyed his character in this. It like everything with him and Samson especially really was just genuinely like surprisingly moving. Like I was a little worried with how emotional Years was, if that level of emotionality would carry into the Bone Temple. And with the character of Kelson and Samson, that through line of emotionality kept going, and I really just enjoyed everything that Ray Fiennes does in this. Just it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I was just blown away by just, again, like, just to go back to the bit where he's just sitting alone. I don't know, there's just such a air of vulnerability to Fiennes' performance that I think just makes it so magic. I don't know, he's really just so special in these movies. I don't know, Marty, how do you feel about Kelson?
Yeah, I think he is just fabulous. Memento Mori, that's his whole thing, is he wants to honor the past, honor the dead. He talks about 28 years, he talks about how like every skull has memories and has a soul, and like was this person. So when he looks at this giant temple, he's reminded of all the people, all that used to be there. And I just, when he sits there and he's alone, he's looking for connection. So once he starts to have that with Samson, I find that so beautiful that he can finally go back to his roots of being a doctor, caring for people, being there emotionally for someone. So he gets to fulfill that for himself. And then Samson's also finding his humanity again. And I thought that dynamic was just so beautiful. And their relationship works as like a perfect mirror for what's going on with the Jimmys there. Like they are finding the love and the compassion and the beauty that's still left there. And then the Jimmys are just divulging into violence and anger, and they are just getting to the worst parts of humanity. So just having these two kind of going back and forth, you really do get this kind of perfect image of humanity, I guess, in the end times.
Yeah, I mean, I think it speaks to how great Kelson is a character that even, the murderous, warlord Sir Jimmy Crystal is like, hey, you might be like the only person I've ever liked. I mean, shit, me too. I don't know. Jakey, what about you? How you feel about Kelson?
Just one of the best characters of the decade. Like, it honestly, like, it's the like you said, like the vulnerability that Fiennes plays him with. He's fantastic in years. Like he kind of unlocks that film towards the end in a way that makes you reconsider like the last like 90 minutes for what came prior. And then kind of going into this, and yeah, that kind of pervading sense of loneliness that like covers the entire character. I mean, there was a line in it that I don't know how it went for you guys in your theaters, but it was the bit where he was saying, "Oh yeah, you owe me. I'm just joking. I'm NHS." That line played like gangbusters over here. People loved it.
I got some giggles over here.
Yeah. And I think that does speak to his character. I mean, because the NHS, like as an organization, came about during post-war Britain. It came about during a time where like we were broken. We were a broken nation, and losing like and you know we lost so much, but we built this thing that is like such a pivotal part of our country now. It's a vital piece of infrastructure. And Kelson kind of does become like almost like a physical manifestation of the NHS as like an ideal, in a way that for me like resonates on that broader thematic front. But then you get those like intimate little character quirks with Kelson. I mean, he's clearly a big fan of Duran, so I can relate to that heavily. He's also just got such a like tenderness towards every single person he meets. There's like very little judgment involved. And up until like right at the end, it's only right at the end where he does that kind of like last twist of the knife. But yeah, just like one of the best characters I think from any film the past like 6 years for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I feel like we're in spoiler territory, so I can say this. The way that Ray Fiennes can just kind of, or where he holds Alfie Williams' head and just says the word Spike.
Yeah.
The way that just that can kind of just pierce my soul speaks to how good Fiennes is in this movie. And I'll finish it off with you, Ethan. How do you feel about Kelson?
I think he's like the most important character to be in a zombie story because we've rarely, if ever, gotten someone like this in this genre, like at least that I can think of. And I think it was, especially for where we are as a society right now, the most important gateway and character to lead into how we solve a situation like this and how we like fix society and come together is not through some harsh, violent state governed force to like grab people and vaccine them and shove them into like fucking like basically what 28 weeks was all about. Like it's showing that like we need to like we can only fix this like if we treat each other like people, like other human beings. And I think the whole like thematic process of going through like this is the guy who figured it out, the guy who took what looks to be a monster and sat with it and pondered with it and befriended it, rather than going shoot and kill this guy, we'll figure out how to do everything else. He's the only person who tried to like bring the soul back into Samson. Like anyone else on this planet would have tried to murder him, and whether it continues to go anywhere or whether it's going to be darkly ironic that the only person who ever could have fixed this is now dead, it's really heartbreaking if that's the case, but it's really reflective of where we're at. And I think that Ray Fiennes was like the only dude who was probably capable of bringing this, and I thought it was an excellent performance. Yeah, definitely more worthy than Heretic.
I liked your anecdote about kind of Fiennes being like not just tender, but you know with Samson, I mean, he explicitly and maybe not so subtly references Androcles and the lion, and then it kind of pays off in the same way that Androcles and the lion does, where in the fable, the lion saves Androcles in the same way. Well, unfortunately, our Androcles does bite the bullet, but I guess our version of the lion still comes back as kind of a guardian angel at the end, and I think that was a really, I mean, it's a scary image. Well, of course, Samson literally comes back as the devil, like caked in blood, but it's at the same time, it's a kind of like a darkly beautiful image that I feel like only Alex Garland could write. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I was so moved by it, even though like it's a very like nasty image on paper. I don't know. Again, I want to. I keep coming back to this point where a lot of this movie should not work on paper, but it does just because of how good Nia DaCosta is at a director. Like she just knocked this thing out of the park. But I want to get to the meat and potatoes now, if we haven't already, which is Jack O'Connell's Sir Jimmy Crystal. What a year this guy has had. He was Remick in Sinners and basically became an icon overnight. He stole the show for the last 5 minutes of 28 years later, and he's going to be in Danny Boyle's upcoming Rupert Murdoch biopic as well. And that's just what I looked at like last night that I can remember. I'm sure he's going to be in other stuff, but we're in Jack O'Connell's world right now, and we're just going to kind of have to live in it. Marty, how'd you feel about Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal?
I've always loved him. So if he's in a project, I know I'll be having a good time. It was so funny too, because in the car on the way home, my partner was talking about like just how like gross his teeth were and like how much he like hated that character. And I was like, he was the vampire in Sinners. He's like, the hot vampire? I was like, the hot vampire. Yeah. So like it was so funny to see him not even realizing that that's Jack O'Connell. Like he did such a good job of differentiating these kind of villain roles that like I guess the majority of the public is not even going to click on that. Like he really does dive deep into this, and it's just so scary. Like the scene in the barn, I literally was like in my seat like this. I like could not move because like what is he going to do next? Like it just like he just felt like a viper really, and like I'm just like slowly trying to like move out of the way so he doesn't like fucking like grab onto me. But out of all the Jimmys, I thought like, of course, because he's Jimmy Prime, like he's great, but I think Ink Jimmy really was like the perfect kind of like balancing act for him too, because like she doesn't fully believe him. The other ones all are like die hard, like we trust you 1000%, and she brings a little doubt to him. She kind of goes against him, and I thought their dynamic was fantastic. The performance that she was able to get out of that and that fuck ass wig like really like shows how strong of an actor she is. And I had only seen her I think in like one thing prior to this, and I thought she was good, but like I didn't really remember her so much, and just she kind of stole the show away from Jack O'Connell for me on multiple occasions, and I was just like, who is she? Like I'm obsessed with you now.
But I felt the same way. I really didn't expect to love Erin Kellyman as much as I did in this movie.
Yeah.
Actually, I ran into her at TIFF last year, and I asked her a little about the movie, and all she said was, "It's fucking weird," and it's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Ethan, how you feel about Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal?
I think this is such a clever, like, because you always have in like these kinds of universes like this is the weird cult guy who kind of tries to make his own band or whatever, and I think basing it off of something really awful that actually happened in a series that's very densely based in its culture of where it's from, that I think playing heavily into, I'm trying to just craft the thoughts here, that I think it's really interesting how they played with a character so evil, so demonically, and played into religious imagery, and even at moments reciting passage from the Bible, like his last words hanging up on an upside down cross are, "Father, why have you forsaken me?" when he's looking at what appears to be the devil, which is what Jesus Christ's last words were when he was hanging on the cross. So like he looks up to God and he's like, "Oh, why'd you do this?" or whatever. He literally says, "Father, why have you forsaken me?" So I think it's really interesting to just, there's so much with this guy that I'm just kind of like overloaded on how to really comprehend it. But as mentioned before, the scene in the barn, where they were taking off their shirts,
so to speak.
yeah, I was so appalled and disgusted, and I'm like, this movie is awesome. I hate this. It's awesome.
Yeah, I
And
knew. Oh, sorry.
yeah, and I think it's really just one of the more interesting villains we've gotten lately, with someone who's just so immensely evil and uncaring, and but it's sometimes shown as weaker. Like we see the weaker side of Jimmy when he speaks with Dr. Kelson, and some of the layers are kind of peeled back by Kelson because he's such a warm presence. But obviously, in the end, he's like, "Okay, and if you don't, I'll fucking kill you." And he's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, I knew this movie was going to be violent again, just because this is a Nia DaCosta movie, and I loved her work on Candyman, which is a total bloodbath. Yeah. Oh my God, I didn't know that people were going to be like straight up getting skinned, and people were going to have their heads caved in by like meat hooks or whatever. This is a violent, violent movie. Like I was already chill with like the Predator spine ripping. We did that in the last movie, but yeah, Nia DaCosta and her makeup department, they all get high fives to me. Zach, what's the deal with Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal?
So I first found out about Jack O'Connell. My dad was a big Rogue Heroes fan, the TV show. And so when Sinners came out and I had heard that he was in it, my dad's like, "Oh my God, that's the Rogue Heroes guy." And I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome." And then I saw him obviously in 28 Years Later, and I was interested to see where his story was going to go. And I know that you guys have said that Jimmy Savile is a influence on him and whatever, but the one that I definitely got a lot more is he reminds me a lot of Jim Jones, like the Kool-Aid guy. Jared, is it no
Definitely.
Jonestown?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like a kind of like a psychotic mix of like Alex DeLarge and Jim Jones with like a sense of humor somehow. Like there are moments that like I found just like darkly funny just because of like at one point Jack O'Connell looks at like a kid and is like, "You stole my flow. What the hell are you doing? I was in the middle of talking." And it's like the tonal balance, and he did this in Sinners too. Like you say that, or you said earlier that he became a cultural icon overnight. That scene where he jumps on to the back of the juke joint and like the Sammy thing, that's a meme now. And it's, yeah, he's incredible in this.
I mean, I feel like Remick has like 17 different memes. That's how good
Oh
he
yeah.
is.
They,
Jakey, what's the deal?
yeah.
Oh, sorry, Zach, you were gonna go?
Oh no, I'm done. I'm good.
All right. Jakey, what's the deal with
Oh
Sir
man.
Lord Jimmy Crystal?
I just want to go back to what Marty was saying about like Erin Kellyman real quick. I mean, the thing that I find really interesting about the dynamic between them, between her and Jimmy Crystal, it works almost a lot like Immortan Joe and Nux in Fury Road. Like I saw a lot of that within those two. The kind of her unlearning elements of like her faith, whilst still kind of being somewhat under the teachings of an insane person. But no, like Jack O'Connell was just insanely good. He's so good. There's this element of like you believe that he believes what he's saying. Like there's not a moment in it where the only time where it feels like a grift is when he makes that deal with Kelson. That's the only time where it feels like he's, you know, playing into something that he knows isn't true, like, and he doesn't believe in. But for the rest of it, like, you get this idea that he's fully in this. He believes every single word that's coming out of his mouth and doesn't doubt it for a second. And I think it's just really fascinating. Like, you look at the way that he got broken by the outbreak, and compare it to how Kelson's kind of like built this beautiful monument in response to it. It's a character like rife with meaning in terms of like the character, like as a character, as well as the metatextual stuff. He does feel like such a well-rounded villain, in a way that I was not nervous about going into this. Like I did have like I knew that we were going to probably get something fantastic with it, but in a way that I didn't expect. I didn't expect him to be so like devout in his beliefs.
Yeah, I mean, well, on the topic of expectations, you know, after seeing Sinners, you know, you really expect, like, you know, him to have this, you know, kind of megalomaniacal presence, and he does. But I like that you used the word grift, because he is kind of a dipshit. Like, there comes a point where, and also to go back to, you know, what Zach was saying about Jim Jones, like, he, you know, he's drunk off his own Kool-Aid, but there comes a point where, you know, he, you know, kind of just gets blackout drunk off of his own Kool-Aid. I think what was really interesting about Jimmy Crystal to me is kind of just what he represents as flawed leadership, and not only flawed leadership, but as well as kind of how people respond to it. You know, because we have Spike, who's kind of just our audience surrogate, and he kind of just, you know, violently forces Spike into submission, which is, you know, something that fascists tend to do, and something that's kind of going on right now. And then, you know, if somebody like, you know, Jimmy Inc., Aaron Kellyman, who can kind of see through the veneer, but is also kind of forced into complacency through the threat of violence. And then you have somebody like Kelson, who's like, literally within like seconds, he's like, I know what you are. And I think that, again, that's kind of speaks to the expectation of, like, you know, you see Jack O'Connell show up in 28 Years Later with this band of, you know, Robin Hood-esque marauders. Oh, there's a kind of whole old English kind of fantasy thing going on with these movies. And you think that he's going to be like this, you know, insane, you know, powerful villain. And he kind of is, but that the only reason he is because he has this kind of, you know, religious and political sway. So I don't know, does anybody kind of want to touch on, you know, kind of the subtext with Sir Jimmy Crystal?
The British guy, maybe.
I mean, yeah, like he literally builds a cult of personality. I mean, it's named after him. It's such a fascinating character in that sense, because you do get this picture that, like, he is what like a modern day version of this would be. Like we see it often and a lot, like online personalities creating their little bubble realities, the people that fully subscribe to and jump right on in, no questions asked. And the kind of to question it is to essentially sentence yourself to social exile. And in this case, for them, it's death. It's charity. That words, like, I think that the charity element of it is maybe like the key to like understanding him psychologically. Because you do get this idea that the fact that he thinks that what he's doing is beneficial. Which is where he differs, I think, maybe from real life people like this, because I think a lot of real life people like this hold that power, knowing full well that if those that were under their wing started to band together and form kind of their own thoughts on what's going on around them, that they would lose that power. But for him, it's like he's created an impenetrable shield around him, and again with that cult of personality, using nostalgia as well. Like, he's talking about Teletubbies. His catchphrase, not catchphrase, like the kind of equivalent to "Amen," which is "How's that" for these guys. That is actually rooted in something that Savile used to say, which was "How's about that then?" It's a contracted version of that, and taking kind of I guess pop culture iconography and morphing it into religion isn't too dissimilar to what we see with like crazy Star Wars fans.
I mean, I think this is just such a thematically dense and layered script. Honestly, I was making a joke to Jakey the other day that if Danny Boyle was directing this, there would have been like interspliced footage like Monty Python to signify like the Crusades and religious violence. But just to cap things off, we can't finish this off without talking about the ending and our anticipation for part 3. So again, if you haven't seen the movie, why are you still here? But for just to summarize, the ending of the movie is the return of Jim, Cillian Murphy, and his daughter. I think her name is Sam. I was looking in the credits. I could be wrong. But not only is this the return of Cillian Murphy and the return of In a House in a Heartbeat, which is such a good song, but Cillian is kind of summarizing the themes of the movie. Not only, I mean, kind of what Fiennes was talking about earlier with Androcles and the Lion in post World War I Germany, about how rehabilitation is the kind of key to peace, and just kind of condemning them to figurative or literal hell isn't the way we solve that. So yeah, what did you guys think of the ending to 28 years later, the Bone Temple, and where do we go from here?
I would say, like, I feel like for the first 2 films, they kind of feel like just one kind of meat to me. Like, I feel like this third one that's going to come up will be a little bit more distinctive from these 2, especially because these 2 were filmed back to back, and there's got to be some passages of time because we've seen how much the actor who plays Spike has grown. Just with
dude's tall.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
like, that's an adult now. So that's one thing I'm interested to see, but it feels like they've done a good job cementing these 2 as like one point in time, and then we'll see where we go next. I'm hoping Naomi comes back, fingers crossed. The tease of the child kind of says that Naomi's still around, at least hopefully still around,
God, I hope so.
I know, like, I don't feel like we could bring Cillian back without her. And even if it's just like, oh, she's passed, but we get like a little flashback of her, I'd be appreciative. But yeah, I feel like the movie has done a great job of showing where we go forward from here. One conversation I was having after the movie was like, my partner's like, if you're in a zombie world, why do you want to still keep living? Like, you're having kids. The one girl from the barn was pregnant. Like, why are you still producing and living on and trying to create life in this like hellscape? And it's like, well, look at where we are right now in comparison. Yeah, we don't have zombies running around, but we've got people being attacked in their own homes. You've got genocide. Like, you've got all these awful things that are happening in this world, and you can either focus on that or you can try to create your own Garden of Eden, your own bliss. And I really like how the film is talking about we can create our own reality. We can kind of find a link between us still. Like, no matter how far gone we go as a society, you can still find beauty between 2 human beings. You'll find the humanity. You'll find kind of what makes the heart sing. And I'm really interested to see where that's taken in this next film.
I'm really glad you touched on that, because that's the thesis of 28 Days Later. It's not all fucked.
Yeah.
There's still, something, right? I don't know, Ethan, how do you feel going into part 3 after the Bone Temple?
I think that Bone Temple is a great interlude that gets you ready for bigger ideas in the next movie while still giving you something extremely satisfying. And I think if projections for this movie are low, I think word of mouth, people going, holy shit, it's Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer's in this. I love Cillian Murphy. People are going to go see it and go like, hey, like, people didn't like the ending of the last one. And I think people who want more a traditional, Zach brought up Empire Strikes Back. That's like a really great comparison, where it's something that makes you go, oh, I gotta see what happens after this. Like something, the hook to it's like, well, where the fuck is Han Solo? Is that really his dad? Is Vader really his dad? It's like, I love Cillian Murphy. I want to see more Cillian Murphy. Everyone loves Cillian Murphy. Like, it's, I don't know when this movie is gonna be made, because you're saying that he's making some fucking biopic. Great, we
Yeah,
need more of
Rupert
those.
Murdoch.
Yeah. God, I'm dying for part 3. I want it yesterday.
Yeah, I'm itching. Zach, how do you feel?
So I am just going to echo what Ethan's saying, but I'm also going to tell a quick story. So the press screening that me and Ethan went to for this movie, there was like almost like Marvel level cheers at Killian's reveal. Like when and I assume obviously we're in full spoilers, so I can kind of describe the scene. But when the camera kind of pans over and you see his face, the theater lit up. And it was like, so I think this more works as, I know that there was a lot of issues, like I said, with the ending of the last film, but this one works a lot more as like a coda. It fits more in line with the thematics of what this, like the story that DaCosta and Garland were trying to tell, as opposed to with the way that Years was, where it was a little more disjointed from the story. But I think that it sets up and teases what could be an incredible finale for this trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, just to touch on just the theater reaction, my theater wasn't as like rambunctious, but oh my god. Again, I need to say this again. Hearing In a House in a Heartbeat on like a blasting sound system, that's I have chills just saying it. Like I saw 28 Days Later last year because they did the re-release. I felt the exact same when Killian was murdering all those military dudes. It's like one of the best pieces of music for like a movie I've ever heard. I don't know. John Murphy, Mandate of Heaven forever. Jakey,
What?
bring us home. Oh, Zach.
One other thing I wanted to note before we leave is I saw a tweet earlier this morning that compares this trilogy to the Apes trilogy, like the Matt Reeves
Yes.
thing. And this movie and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes have a lot in common, I would say.
I would say even
both
with
war too as well.
Oh yeah, I would say, well, there's definitely a moment in the Bone Temple with Samson that probably hits the exact same as when Caesar goes, no, yeah, that was friggin' nuts. Yeah, Jakey, you want to bring us home on this one?
I mean, for me, anyways, as someone who's had their ear to the ground on, what Boyle's been saying and the production, everything. I knew about this. I knew it was coming. It didn't mean I didn't gasp when I heard him start speaking. I still was like, oh my god, it's happening. I think for me, anyways, I love the way it's not filmed like a Marvel cameo. It's like it's just matter of fact. It's just plain like, here he is. Like there's no big fanfare for it, which was lovely.
I couldn't hear what he was saying because people were screaming too loud. I'm so annoyed.
He was summarizing the themes in the movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, what Zach was saying in terms of how with the last film, it's more of a narrative bookend with the kind of theme, with like, we see Jimmy at the beginning, we see Jimmy at the end of 28. Whereas with this, yeah, it's more of a thematic bookend and more like a summary. It does summarize a lot of what their ideas they were seeding with this. I mean, yeah, like post-war economies and, how that is essentially what this is. Especially with the way that Rage, I think in 28 Days was presented as like this. I mean, the vibe I got from it was like it was planned to be used as a military tool, like from the scientists and all that. So it does serve as a really nice like kind of summary of where we're at so far, and what not just what 28 years was exploring, but what 28 days was exploring as well. I love the fact that he's just a teacher. I love that, and I love like there was a little joke about like the standardized testing that he was doing for despite the fact there's no exam board. It was just a really lovely moment. I wasn't expecting it to be so warm and so just I don't know, like it feel like seeing Jim filled me with a sense of hope that I wasn't mainly because of what I'm very excited for with like how his relationship with Spike might develop, because they're both kind of people that missed out on that initial outbreak. I mean, Jim woke up after 28 days, didn't see what happened at all. He was just kind of like, one day the world was fine, the next it was gone. And Spike kind of similarly echoes that in that he was born into it, like he was born into this world. I'm like, my mind is racing at a million miles a minute, just as it was last time, with 28 years later, with regards to the possibilities of what's going to happen next. On a not just on a thematic front, but on a character front as well. It feels like this trilogy is like the whole meal when it comes to like looking great, sounding great, having phenomenal performances. Like it's the first time I feel like a big studio production has really like a studio production, like a trilogy, has felt this considered, since the Planet of the Apes trilogy for me.
I mean, yeah, I think like there's something happening with these movies, especially in our current landscape, where I think part of what's so refreshing about these movies is just like the willingness to take risks at any point. Like and sometimes like the risks don't totally pan out again. Like some of Boyle's choices in 28 Years Later didn't work with everybody. But and even then, like, it's kind of a miracle that like literally anything in Bone Temple works. Like the fact that like everybody's coming out buzzing out of a scene in a zombie movie where a dude just cakes himself in paint and just lip syncs to Iron Maiden, like I'm so happy that we are here where we can talk about this movie and say that it's fantastic and that there's more than most likely a third one on the way. So does anybody have? Yeah, I hope. Does anybody have any final thoughts to cap off 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple with? Going once, going twice.
I mean, I guess, yeah. For me, as you described me as the resident 28 head. For me, anyways, like it just feels like lovely to have something like this out in the world. When it comes to films of this scale, you don't really get stuff like this very often. It's very rare. With something that feels so like artistically considered on like every front. It's been a bit disappointing for me as a fan of like 28 years to not see it get the love that I think it deserved across like broadly culturally and also award season stuff. But like, I mean, if the early reactions to this are anything to go by, I think people are back on board, which is all I can really ask for.
I mean, word of mouth is already looking good, so let's hope that it keeps going. Fellas, I want to thank you for joining me. This was productive. This was fantastic. I've been Luca Mehta. You can find me at Luca M8A on most social media platforms. You can also find my writing on the ForReel website. Marty, would you like to plug yourself?
Yeah, you can find my writing also on ForReel. My Twitter and Letterboxd are Marty Milkman. Yeah.
Ethan, what about you?
You can find me at funeman _FUNEMAN on Letterboxd. I'd say follow me on Twitter, but nobody should go on Twitter. Yeah. I don't have anything to say. Yeah.
Jakey, where can we find you?
You can find me on x.com, the everything app. You can find me right there at KeyJ115. That's me. Linktree in the bio. Follow me everywhere else if you like.
And Zach, where can we find you?
I have a YouTube channel where I review movies under my name. So if you liked anything I said here, more of that there.
Subscribe to Zach Conway.
Yep.
Fellas, I want to thank you again. And I wanted to give one more happy birthday to our beloved Sean Peer. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, round of applause, round of applause. Thank you guys for joining me. I'll see you guys hopefully next week for I don't know what we're doing, but yeah, I'll see you guys next week.